there's actually someone leading a group of people to go perform at a very historic building in New York City. That's Carnegie Hall, and that will be the Orchard Lake Community Church Choir actually headed there in December for that performance. So with us right here live on The Splash to talk a little bit more about that, we have Director of Music Ministries for the Orchard Lake Community Church, Bruce Snyder. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Snyder.
Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. So we have a lot to break down right here. First and foremost, I want to talk about this Carnegie Hall performance that you all be doing. What does it mean to you to even lead a group from Orchard Lake Community Church to perform at Carnegie Hall in New York City?
Yeah, it's probably a once-in-a-lifetime event, especially for this choir. Some of them have never even been to New York City. So this is going to be a spectacular event for them. We know the composer who is conducting this concert, and so that makes it a little bit more friendly, a little bit more fun. And in fact, that he's joining us back at Orchard Lake at the end of the week to do a repeat performance with our choir in town. So it's a significant time of encouragement and celebrating with this choir.
Congratulations, first and foremost. So once in a lifetime opportunity like that, performing in New York from our little community of Greater West Bloomfield. We love that you are representing. Can you just talk about how this opportunity came about? How did you all get in a position to perform at Carnegie Hall? And just talk about the preparation process before you get there.
I knew that I was going to retire after the Christmas season, after almost 30 years at Orchard Lake. And because I know this composer and some of his colleagues, I had texted them and said, hey, would it be possible for you to help me celebrate in December and come into town and do some of the artistry that you do at the piano and help us celebrate these series of last events? And he said, well, you know, I'm performing this work in Carnegie the week before. And I said, oh, really? Do you think we could bring some folks? And he said, sure, and put us in touch with the festival host agency, and we went from there. And before you know it, we have 22 people flying the city.
Bring some folks indeed. 22 people in our lovely Orchard Lake Community Church. Oh, what a great deal. And that just speaks on relationships, too, that you've built throughout the years. And cat's out of the bag now. Congratulations on your retirement coming up at the end of the year. Let's speak on that. But right here, joining us live on The Splash, we have Director of Music Ministries for Orchard Lake Community Church, Bruce Snyder, now talking about his retirement and upcoming performance at Carnegie Hall. So reflecting on 29 years of service, what are your most memorable moments or performances in your role of Director of Music Ministries?
You know, I always felt like I had two callings in life. One was that I was a music educator. I taught in Bloomfield Hills schools for 35 years and tried to do that with consistency and some excellence and rare, wonderful opportunities for students. But I was also always involved in the local church. I believe that music is something to be celebrated. It is something that is a gift of God, and we should use it, you know, in the life of the church. And so I've almost 30 years. And in that time, we've done fully staged musicals. We've done classical works. We've worked with orchestras. We've helped support concert series. We did a Europe trip early in my tenure. We spent 16 days in Europe with the choir performing and touring. We've taken a couple of road trips lately to see big sacred musicals in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And so all of those things are wonderful. But I think that the two things that are most important is that I like to play in the sandbox with others. I like to make music with other people. I think that's the greatest pleasure.
There you go.
And then to do that and be able to express my faith and encourage other people in their faith has been, I think, a big blessing.
Love that. I just hear the passion in your voice, Bruce, and how you love what you do, your commitment to not only just the church, but the schools also. Like, you spent decades at both contributing and giving your service and your skills, and we want to thank you for that also. And I want to talk about 29 years, very long time. Can you just talk about how the music program has evolved over those 29 years at Orchard Lake Community Church?
In some ways, it's exactly the same, because the music of the church, of course, there are a whole new generations of things musically going on, but there's also great threads of music that has nurtured the spirit of the church for hundreds of years. And so we, in some ways, we do the same thing that people have done for generations. I think the thing that I've tried to bring to it is that I really believe that music in the church is a calling. I think it's the second most important thing to the preaching of God's word in the pulpit. I think after that, the way the worship community celebrates in music is the next important time. It's the time when we get to speak truth and put it on a musical melody line. So maybe you will remember it when you leave. So I think the evolution has been always pushing it more towards ministering through music and not really about performance as such.
Nice. And I can understand that too. I mean, church usually keeps it traditional and, in regards to its religion and the way things have worked. And you might have some small changes here and there to adapt to the times or how you speak to the people or relate to the people and things of that nature. But other than that, the basis and the foundation is essentially the same. So I like the way that you put that. With us right here live on The Splash, Director of Music Ministries for Orchard Lake Community Church, Bruce Snyder, talking about his retirement at the end of the year and the choir's upcoming performance at Carnegie Hall in New York City. Oh man, that sounds so good. Let's get back to that. What impact do you hope the performance at Carnegie Hall will not only have on the members of the choir, but maybe right here, the members of the community in Greater West Bloomfield?
Well, I think that the choir sings quite well, but I think that we live in an island kind of thing, and I think on a world-class stage with 250 other singers, a professional orchestra, I think will encourage them that they're not alone, that there are other people doing this and are doing it well and are doing it passionately, and are doing it out of their love for God and the sense of community that music creates. And then I think that may encourage our own congregation to value what it is that this volunteer choir brings to the services every Sunday. I think it might help their view of what we do. Yeah,
a little bit more sense of pride, achievement, things of that nature. I can understand that 100%, and I like your thinking. I like your thinking with that, Bruce. So can we just talk about, as you're stepping down, you're retiring at the end of this year, starting off fresh next year, do you have any advice or hopes that you have for the future of music ministry at Orchard Lake Community Church?
I think that the leadership of the church is wrestling with what does the future look like for the church as a whole. And I think it's a really healthy thing that they're doing that. And now, with my stepping away, it's a perfect time for them to say, how do we want music to represent what the future of the church is going to look like? And so I think it's a time of pretty deep study for them as they organize that. And then I just want the music to always be good, but I also want it to reflect the vision of the church, to be part and parcel with everything else that's going on in the ministries at Orchard Lake.
Love that. Yeah, like we said, it's continuous evolution of the church and of the community. So they're going to take some things to kind of figure that out, and we appreciate it. Just a few more questions before we let you go, Mr. Snyder. One, I have to ask you this. What are you most proud of in your 29 years of service?
I think it is that God has been praised week in and week out when it was easy and when it wasn't easy, and that God's people have been encouraged by the musical team that has wrapped itself around me for these many years. It is a high calling, and I think we've represented that faithfully.
Perfect. And if you don't mind me and our audience being just a little bit nosy, what are your plans after retirement going forward in the year 2025?
My wife and I have a little condominium in Fort Myers, which has survived the last 2 hurricanes. I'm excited about that. And we're going to spend some R&R time. Really, the first time that we will be completely retired, and we're going to spend some time there. I've already made contact with a couple of community choirs in Fort Myers, and I'm going to sing with them. They're planning a big mass concert in the spring for the Brahms Requiem.
Okay.
And I'll be singing that with them in German. And then there are a couple of churches that we're tangentially involved with down there. So we'll stay involved. And then I don't know what happens in May when we come back to Michigan. We'll see what comes from that.
Yeah, you just kind of figure it out. But you can't run away from that passion. That's what I'm hearing, Bruce. You retire, but it's still going to be attached to you. I love that.
Music is what I do. It's the only thing I do. It's how I communicate with the real world. It doesn't go away.
That's a testament to it. Hey, I want to thank you so much again for your time. Congratulations on your retirement and the next chapter of your life, and good luck performing December 2nd at Carnegie Hall. Once again, Director of Music Ministries for Orchard Lake Community Church, Bruce Snyder.
Thank you. Let me make a plug for Friday night, December 6th at 7 p.m. at Orchard Lake. If you can't fly to New York to see us there, come to Orchard Lake Community Church on Friday night, December 6th, and we will do another performance with orchestra, and the composer, Joel Rainey, will be our guest that evening and will be at the piano. It'll be a wonderful evening.
Oh, perfect. December 6th, Friday. Make sure you support Orchard Lake Community Church Choir. Once again, Bruce Snyder, we appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you kindly.